Hello, it's me, Recky, and welcome back for another military reaction. We're going to check out the channel called Task and Purpose. Just found this, and I think the channel itself has been suggested by you guys quite a few times. I might have done one or two reactions to Task and Purpose before, but I can't really remember. I have the memory of a goldfish, and a dead one, for that matter. If you haven't checked out Task and Purpose, I strongly suggest that you do. You find the link for the video we're going to watch and as well for the channel located right down there in the description. And of course, welcome to a sunny South Sweden. Spring is on the verge of breaking through the nasty winter. I love that. If you do enjoy the content, don't forget to smack the like and of course hit that subscribe. That's something I would greatly appreciate. We said thank you so much to the channel members and the patrons. Thank you so much for the excellent support. A big shout out to the Supreme Tier donators over by Patreon and of course, channel membership. Thank you. Personal shout outs goes to the ultimate supporters, Deja, Walt, Dwayne, Dana, Troy, Robert, Matt, Lon, and Barbara. Amazing list right there. All right, so let's find out. Task and Purpose is going to have America's B-1 bomber needs to chill out, and this video was released a month ago, and I don't know what's I know what the B1 is. Of course, don't worry about it. I know exactly what it is. Not a new thing whatsoever. And I think this is maybe some kind of a mission, maybe 20 minutes long. Here we go.
This B-1 strategic bomber took off from Dyess Air Force Base in Taylor County, Texas on February 2nd, 2024. They had a special mission that only it could accomplish. The mission was to fly 15,000 miles nonstop round trip to Iraq and Syria by refueling midair. They would then drop over 125 precision-guided munitions during a 30-minute period of anger before turning back and landing again in the continental United States.
Isn't that completely messed up, just thinking about the travel they did? Well, we're gonna go over to Syria and Iraq and bomb some stuff, honey. Yeah, just put on some coffee. I'll be home in about a couple of hours. And maybe I want some Danish with that when I get back. We live in a really messed up world today. It's just incredible.
Total mission time was likely about 24 to 30 hours. The pilots were home in time to get back to work on Monday. The B-1s reportedly struck 85 Iranian-backed proxy militia targets as payback for an attack on a U.S. base in Jordan that left 3 American soldiers KIA. Prior to the bombing runs, U.S. troops were under almost daily fire from drone and rocket attacks, reaching 170 strikes against them during a period of 4 months. The bombers were able to show that the United States had no need to increase their actual footprint in the Middle East in order to strike back. After a series of targeted airstrikes, the attacks against U.S. bases have since stopped. And now, this unique bomber, invented in the late...
Yeah. If I were the enemy, and I'm feeling, a bit cocky regarding, we are bombing the Americans, and it's so easy to do with drones and stuff like that. And there's a B-1 coming out of freaking nowhere and bomb the living crap out of us. I would probably not go ahead and attack again. And that's the essence of deterrence. Here we go. This is what we have. You got the stupid freaking drones. We got B-1 bomber. Do you want to continue? David and Goliath.
1980s is getting some extensive updates. The U.S. Air Force just flew its newest upgrade to the formidable B-1 Lancer strategic bomber. This modified B-1B, under the DoD's BEAST program, is the latest iteration of the aircraft that extends its operational lifetime to 2040 and beyond. According to the official reports, upgraded B-1s contain a technology overhaul that significantly increases the lethality of the bomber and give them the capabilities they need in the next war. BEAST, or B-1 Embracing Agile Scheduling Team Program.
Of course, it's got the coolest name ever. It's not going to be like a squirrel or little forest mouse. It's going to be Beast, B1, embracing agile scheduling team.
Program, outside of being a 5 out of 10 acronym at best, is an upgraded program for the fleet of 45 B-1B Lancer supersonic bombers in the Air Force's inventory. But with all eyes on the new B-21 stealth bomber and hypersonic missiles as the next big thing, where does the B-1 fit into all this? What type of unique missions, tactics, and weapons capabilities does the B-1 Beast have? And do our adversaries have anything like it? I'm your average infantryman, Chris Cappy. Slap the like and subscribe button with an unironic hooah, and let's find out. But before we get into that, did you know that Armasight is one of the very few night vision and thermal brands out there that can say their products are designed and built right here in the US of A? Whether it's government agencies or outdoor enthusiasts, domestic or international, Armasight has become the go-to brand for high-performing equipment for little to no light operations. Armasight combined night vision and thermal imaging capabilities into one package with their Generation 3 PVS-14 plus Sidekick thermal imaging kit. It has a laundry list of benefits that include the PVS-14s that now have a significantly improved picture quality and ghost white phosphor, which is the preferred choice of special operators. Then the Armasight Sidekick thermal imaging monocular is the smallest, fully multifunctional 12-micron thermal imaging monocular on the market. It boasts a really fast 60 Hz frame rate for smooth operation. It weighs under 250 grams, so it can be used in a handheld configuration. The high-definition 1024 by 768 OLED display provides a crisp image, and there's a menu that can offer you key information thanks to its 3-button control and in-unit video recording capability. This makes terrain navigation and object identification easier at great
You can actually record
distances, even through environmental obstructions like fog or haze. Armasight continues to offer easy-to-use, reliable, and durable equipment that doesn't distract from the task at hand. With the reputation for being reliable even in the most intense military operations, Armasight strives to provide that level of support across the board. They're always on the cutting edge of low-light optics technology. So head over to armasight.com today to gear up for your next nighttime operation. The goal was to provide an upgrade package with an emphasis on not disrupting operational capacity of the small fleet during the actual upgrade process. Typical overhauls on military vehicles can take months or years and require that the platform be totally out of operation for the entire duration. This isn't necessarily that big of an issue if the vehicle in question is a tank or helicopter, but things like submarines and long-range bombers need careful consideration when modernization efforts are being made. The Lancer is one of 3 strategic bombers currently in use by the United States, the other 2 being the B-2 and B-52. These aircraft and their payload capacity play a key role in national security through their ability to maintain America's long-range, quick-reaction air power, capable of delivering bombs anywhere on Earth on a minute's notice. The small fleet of only 45
This is exactly what I just talked about. I mean, they can take off from a military base in Texas, bomb the living crap out of something in the Middle East, and be home within 25, 30 hours. And that includes, of course, in-air refuel. And again, let's be happy that America is friendly.
Aircraft and complexity of the design pose a problem. And taking even a handful of the Lancers off the flight line for repairs leaves a large gap in theater-level airstrike capabilities. In order to work around this, the aircraft are receiving the upgrades as part of their normal depot-level maintenance cycles, which would have temporarily removed them from the flight line anyway. This allows air commanders to upgrade their bombers around the already set aircraft availability requirements. While not as infamous as the B-52 or 80s sci-fi-ish as the B-2 stealth bomber, the B-1 has a long history with the US Air Force going back to the 1950s. In 1955, the Air Force expressed the need for an aircraft that combined the B-52's nuclear payload capacity with the ability to fly at a speed of at least Mach 2 to avoid Soviet interceptor aircraft and penetrate the heavily defended airspace along the border of the USSR. Eventually, however, it was decided that the ICBMs were able to better play the role of delivering nuclear payloads than any aircraft.
ICBMs. That is a terrifying thing. I think I need to do, it might be a video out there about the ICBM. uh, ICBM, ICBIM, no, ICBM.
Aircraft could. SSR. Eventually, however, it was decided that the ICBMs were
ICBM.
able to better play the role of delivering nuclear payloads than any aircraft could, and the program was largely shelved. It wouldn't be until Nixon re-established the program in 1969 under the name B-1A. By this time, the focus would be on delivering payloads other than strictly nuclear, so they could be used in a non-nuclear conventional fight. A handful of prototype B-1As were produced, but none were able to fully meet the set requirements. The required redesign skyrocketed the per unit price to $70 million by 1975, the equivalent to over $413 million in today's dollars. A year later, a defecting Soviet pilot disclosed details about the USSR's new interceptor, the MiG-31, which contained an advanced radar system designed to track targets like cruise missiles and low-level penetration aircraft like the B-1A. Because it looked like the B-1 would have just as much of a chance at surviving Soviet air defenses, it became hard to justify the massive program costs, which had now risen to $100 million per aircraft.
Incredible.
Congress at the time was calling it a quote-unquote outlandishly expensive dinosaur, and President Carter specifically placed canceling the program as one of the party's priorities. By 1977, the B-1 was once again canceled, and the Air Force focused on missile platforms and retrofitting the existing B-52 fleet. The growing Soviet presence in remote areas of the map made it difficult for the US to conduct airstrikes, with supersonic aircraft lacking the range and aircraft with the range lacked the speed to counter air defense systems. The DoD under Reagan decided that because the systems were already in place and prototypes built, to restart the B-1 program once again. The program called for 100 B-1s to be constructed. A series of adjustments to the original B-1A design were made, and after finally making it to production, it was given the designation of B-1B in 1986, 3 decades after it was originally drawn up. Oddly enough, despite being in service, it didn't see any action in Desert Storm's famous air campaign, first being utilized in combat in Operation Desert Fox in 1998. This was an often forgotten bombing campaign against Iraq targeting
Operation Desert Fox. I know Desert Storm, but Desert Fox?
Suspected WMD manufacturing facilities. It only lasted 4 days. The major reason for this was that the original mission for the Lancer was strictly for nuclear weapons only, under the Air Force's Strategic Air Command. As the priority for the Air Force shifted from the nukes to conventional munitions, the B-1 had to be retrofitted in order to carry the Mark 82 500-pound bomb. In 1995, its nuclear capability was completely removed under the new START treaty with Russia, who inspected the
START treaty structure. The treaty between the United States of America and the Russian Federation measures of the fourth reduction and limitation of strategic offensive arms, also known as the New START Treaty, enhances U.S. national security by placing verifiable limits on all Russian deployed in intercontinental range nuclear weapons. Okay.
The aircraft every year to ensure compliance until 2023. The purpose of the B-1 in the role of strategic bomber is delivering heavy bomb payloads quickly on high-priority targets anywhere on Earth. But when and where they are used actually gives us insight into the bigger picture of an operation. American airstrikes, depending on location, typically exist in a tiered system of priority. Drones sit at the lowest level, performing reconnaissance and pinpoint strikes. Above that is ground attack aircraft and fighters like the FA-18 and F-16, able to carry a mixture of types and sizes of bombs while reaching a target area faster and from farther away than a drone. Short-range ballistic missiles also fit into this tier of priority. Finally, above both are what's called the strategic level bombers.
This is one of the coolest chart I ever seen. It kind of narrows down exactly what the aircrafts are doing. And then we talked about the strategic level bombers and the range that they have today. I kind of have a hunch for it. Like I knew that the possibility was there, but getting the confirmation on now here, it's kind of mind blowing. Of course, if America can do it, there's a high chance that anyone else can do it too. Like Russia, for example. I don't know, and I really don't care. Uh, but knowing that America can go ahead and bomb stuff over here makes it all feel like whatever happens, hopefully we get some help if we need it.
Carrying significantly heavier payloads than a drone or fighter would be able to. The transition of using fighters for strikes to strategic bombers is a significant escalation in offensive posture for the US, as the United States and UK began airstrikes against the Houthis in Yemen. The usage of the B-1s beginning in February 2024 was a sign of increased American focus in the region. Peer air forces in China and Russia have somewhat similar platforms, with the Russians supporting the Tu-160 supersonic bomber and the Chinese fielding the H-6. The H-6 is a licensed copy of the Russian Tu-16 bomber, and it's by far the oldest of the three countries, and will be completely replaced by their H-20 bomber. Russia's Tu-160 is the newest, fastest, and largest of the design, but has a
I went from not caring to being super interested.
smaller payload capacity than the B-1B. They also were only produced sporadically in small numbers and have been noticeably absent from the war in Ukraine. There are two reasons why the Air Force upgrades from fighters to bombers when looking to drop
Why are they absent on the war with Ukraine? But that doesn't make any sense. Why not use the most strategic bomber they have to bomb the living crap out of the position of the Ukrainians? Make no sense. Makes no sense at all.
freedom seeds on anyone lucky enough to receive them. The first is payload capacity. From its inception, the Lancer needed the ability to carry a heavy payload, which resulted in the capability of carrying 75,000 pounds of munitions.
Holy shit.
This translates to the ability to hold 24 cruise missiles in just a single sortie. The B-52 can only carry about 70,000 pounds, and the B-2 only 40,000. Typical missile payloads will be a mixture of subsonic AGM-86s for conventional ground targets, AGM-158 stealth missiles for high-priority targets in contested airspaces, and AGM-158Bs.
Again, we live in a time where the bomb looks like mini planes. It's like the peak of precision bombing,
which have a range of over 620 miles for those pesky, hard-to-reach targets. Just for reference and context about that, to reach the equivalent cruise missile capacity, it would take 15 of the latest F-15E fighters, as each can hold a maximum of 2 at once. If cruise missiles aren't on the menu though, it still has the capacity of carrying a similar number of Mark 82 and 84 general purpose bombs, JDAMs, or GBU-39 small diameter bombs. We can see that the deployment of Lancers to an airspace mirrors the escalation in targets being engaged at a given time. An F-16 or FA-18 can engage a grid square, right? But a B-1 can engage the entire map. The second reason to bring in the bombers is their speed and range over other air assets. The Lancer is the last of the variable sweep wing designs in the US arsenal, also known as a swing wing. It allows for the wings to extend laterally for efficient low-speed flight and has a wingspan of 137 feet and collapse towards the fuselage for better fuel economy at higher speeds and altitude.
That's 40 meters.
Extending operational range. The aircraft is a blended wing body, which is when the wings and fuselage form a continuous geometry, helping reduce drag and greatly increase the "wow, this plane looks cool" factor. The streamlined design also aids in reducing RCS, or radar cross-section, of the bomber. Though not a dedicated stealth aircraft like the B-2, the B-1 uses a series of serpentine air intake ducts, which helps regulate the airflow into the engines to throttle speed, and helps deflect radar returns from compressor blades over the engines. It also has a cover with a classified radar-absorbing material to decrease overall return size. The slightly smaller radar cross-section gives the other...
I gotta tell you, the design of the B-1 bomber looks kind of strange. Look at it. It's like they have a plane on a plane. You know, you got, I don't know if you can see this. You got this part here. The tip goes around here. Then we got this, and then boom. Let's put some wings on this bad boy right here, and then we're gonna insert the tail here.
Other onboard countermeasures some breathing room in deflecting returns, such as the AN/ALQ-161 radar warning receiver. All of these combined gives the B-1 an impressively small radar cross-section of just about 0.75 meters. Compared to the B-2's 100 cubic meter return, this is still tiny when compared to the FE's 25 meter and F-16's 5 meter return. The combination of small RCS and speed allows the Lancer to scoot in and out of contested airspace rapidly, or better yet, just launch its cruise missile payload before coming into range of the enemy emitters. If passive countermeasures don't work, each B-1 is equipped with 8 flare dispensers, each holding 12 MGU-23ABs. These are some of the largest flares in the world, each weighing almost 3.5 pounds. Try lighting one of those up on the side of the road when your car goes down. If all else fails, Lancers have the option of carrying the ALE-50 towed decoy system, which, as the name implies, launches a towed radar decoy to redirect incoming radar-guided missiles to it rather than the aircraft itself. It's basically the countermeasure version of those big airplane signs you see on the beach. Did you know the Pentagon's favorite euphemism for killing people at an increasingly better rate is lethality? That's right, we don't get better at killing people here, we get better at using lethality. And
I gotta tell you, that's a good word. I mean, lethality. Oh, that's a good t-shirt.
Right now, you can get your own lethality t-shirt just by clicking the link in the description down below, or checking out the YouTube store. The mechanical complexity of the sweep wing and its length of 146 feet made the original design unstable and overly flexible in low altitude flight. So a structural mode control system, which automatically controls a series of vanes and lower rudders, was installed to smooth out the flight. Powering the aircraft is 4 GE F101-102 afterburning turbofan engines, 2 on each side of the aircraft in a parallel configuration. Each is capable of producing 30,000 pounds of force in full afterburner. With a full payload, it has a combat radius of about 1,500 nautical miles, but with the range of the carried cruise missiles can hit targets 2,000 miles away or more. That said, placing range parameters on strategic bombers is a bit of a mischaracterization of how they're actually used. Because strategic bombers are such high priority assets, they always have some level of mid-air refueling support. This effectively extends the range of bombers to anywhere on Earth using a network of KC-135 Stratotankers to ensure the Lancer doesn't have to land until it's back at home base. These are known as conus-to-conus operations because they start and end at the continental United States and can involve up to 4 mid-air refueling over the sometimes 30-plus hour missions. Wow. Fighters carrying air-to-ground ordnance are obviously also heavily reliant on tanker support, but the shorter combat ranges often require combat sorties.
And I bitch and moan when I go to like Spain. Oh my God, I'm gonna sit on the airplane for 3 hours. And they do this for 25, 30, and they need to bomb stuff.
Originate closer to the target location, and for fighter units to be forward deployed to an international airbase. This has the major benefit of allowing the bombers to remain stationed at their home bases, even in the continental United States, rather than forward deployed to areas with less logistical support and potentially for ground strikes while the bomber isn't flying. This is only made practical due to the high speed that the B-1 is capable of reaching. When the Lancer's wings are in the stowed swept configuration, it can reach upwards of Mach 1.2, making it the only strategic bomber in the entire US Air Force capable of supersonic flight. The worldwide range, speed, and carrying capacity not only make it dangerous in an air campaign, but even makes it a tool for diplomacy. In the same way that the Navy deploys carrier groups to potential conflict areas to assert influence, the US Air Force deploys its strategic bomber fleet to places around the globe. Of course, this strategy of deterrence and influence only works if there's some bite behind that bark, and to date, over 12,000 sorties have been flown by the B-1 platform. Those combat missions have had incredible high success rates due to the advanced avionics and fire controls found in the aircraft. Lancers utilize the AN/AA-33 Sniper Advanced Targeting Pod, which uses a combination of IR scanning, laser designation, and data recorders to identify and track targets for the onboard weapon system to lock onto. It can do this even through smoke and clouds at an altitude of 50,000 feet above the ground. Recently, there's been a shift in how the Air Force wanted to use its increasingly smaller Lancer fleet. 20 years of the global war on terror put considerable strains on the B-1 airframe due to the fact that these were primarily low-level gravity bomb-centered missions. The physical strain on the aircraft was beyond what was intended originally compared to less intense high-altitude passes. As aircraft age, it becomes increasingly difficult to source repairs, as highlighted with the B-2's latest cockpit glass debacle. This ultimately led to the Air Force to drop shorter-range, low-speed operations and focus exclusively on longer-range operations. As the B-21 begins to enter service by 2030, the ultimate role of the Lancer will have to change. Two areas being trained by the Air Force are as a high-altitude ISR asset and anti-ship missile carrier. Given decent stealthiness and advanced sensor package, the Lancer is primed to take a back seat to dropping bombs and serve as a data platform for other aircraft and ground forces. The Air Force is looking to use B-1s as non-traditional intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. This is generally a data-driven method of intel gathering rather than hardware-centric, which would use the B-1's Link 16 jam-resistant data link and beyond line-of-sight network connections. These offer the ability for the Lancer to be a network hub of sorts, gathering information from it and other platforms, processing it, and transmitting it as usable targeting data. This was one of the major goals of the Beast program, which streamlined the networking process and increased its data storage capacity to take a significant portion of the information side of the B-1 and automate it. The DoD plans to have the B-1 fill these more niche roles, while the B-21 takes on the role of primary strategic bomber for the Air Force. Originally, plans in 2018 were set for the B-1B to be retired by the early 2030s, but that was canceled in favor of the Bomber Capability Roadmap Plan, which set in place new logistic support to keep B-1s in the air until 2040 and beyond.
Did you know in Djibouti, there's a US and Chinese base located only 10 kilometers from each other, and the Chinese have been firing lasers into the US pilots' eyes, and supposedly both sides have been spying on each other? If you want to learn more about Djibouti bases, just click this card in the top corner here, or type in Task and Purpose Djibouti.
And I want to give a quick shout out to Michael Michaelides, this episode's video editor. He did an outstanding job. So if there's something you liked about the editing, let us know down in the comments section.
Okay guys, thank you for watching.
Okay, so let's that'll actually I wanted to check that out. The Chinese and the American bases being 10 kilometers away. I'm going to say this again. I'm completely blown away on the capacity of the B-1. I mean, again, they can lift off from Texas and be home in about 30 hours after they bomb the living crap out of something in Syria. I have a hunch. I had a hunch that they had the capabilities to do so. But here I am completely blown away that this is actually confirmed. And that's amazing. What a world we live in today. And they have laser-guided small baby bomb planes that you can just pinpoint like right in a freaking cave or whatever. That is mind-blowing. Let me know what you think about this one. And don't forget, if you did enjoy, don't forget to smack the like and of course hit that subscribe. That's something I would greatly appreciate. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I'm Recky. You stay safe.